Hey everybody, it's Street Top Flyer here. Thanks for tuning in. We're back at the bench today, and I've got the Ultimate Turret Press here, and we're going to go over this thing, and I want to share with you just kind of a wrap-up video and make sure that you're aware of all the things that have happened since it came out. It's been out for about 2 years. I had one of the early models, so I didn't have any of the fixes that Lee came up with along the way to address customer issues and complaints and whatever. So there's quite a few little things to cover, and I wanted to make a video so that you have kind of a whole overview of all the things that are available to you to get the best service out of this. I'll also show you some of my tips and tricks to get the best out of it. You know, just personal things that I've done along the way. I'll share that with you. And yeah, let's get to it. Now, just a quick note, I do want to emphasize that I am not associated with Lee Precision in any way. I just have used a lot of their products over the years. So things like this, I want to try to be a resource for all the people that are using it. So I do talk to them about their products and, you know, anyway. So I'm not paid by them or given anything free except for warranty parts. So that's the one thing I do want to get out there. Also, if you look back here before I get going, I've got this metal plate and a little bracket back here. That's something I built for my own purposes. That's not part of the press. So if you're wondering what that is, it goes to a powder stand that I like to mess around with. But it's not part of the press, and I just don't want to take it off for the video. Okay, let me just briefly run down the features of this, kind of tell you how this press works, what makes it unique over anything else that's out there. So this press is a turret press. It falls somewhere between a single stage press and a progressive press. Now, there's quite a few turret presses out there. One of the prominent ones is a Redding T7. I think there's a Lyman 8. And all of those presses are turret presses where you set your dies up in a turret, and then you can cycle back and forth, you know, like so, for the function that you want that's over the ram. Lee takes it a whole step further, and they make an auto-indexing turret press. So what happens with the auto-indexing is it uses the force of the handle and a mechanism to rotate you to the next servicing die. So if you have your dies all set up in order, it makes a lot of sense. You do your powder, pick up a bullet, seat a bullet, and this one will even has a kicker that will kick it into this basket. So that's pretty neat. So when you go to an auto indexing, it's nice if you can use all of the stations, or if you don't have too many stations or whatever. So what they also do is they give you, or this thing ships with a 5-hole turret, like so. And then you have a chance to add a 6-hole, which also serves as a 3-hole turret, and a 4-hole turret, which is what's in here now. You have different indexing rods with different twists, and this is how you get your different indexing so that it brings up the next die properly. So anyway, it's nice that you can set it up to auto index. You can use it as a single stage. You can take the rod out and just use it as a single stage, and I do that all the time because it's just handy here. So I'll use it for things I'm doing. But it's also nice when you want to sit down and do a batch. You put that in, you put the little kicker doodad, this thing, you put that on, and when it finishes up, if you put it together right, it'll kick the last casing in, the last shell into here, and you're done. So anyway, they get a lot done on this turret press. Most of your turret presses, you're the mechanism. You have to manually do it. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that this is just a different animal. So that's what makes this really unique. And when you get it all running right, it's actually a really great tool. I've come to like it quite a bit. So as I go through this, I have to show you the things that didn't work so good and got fixed. I don't want to give you a bad impression of it, but I want to give you a real idea where we've been with this and why things are the way they are. So, and I think that's important. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. We're going to take this thing down and we'll dig into it, and I'll show you all the different things. Okay, so real quick, while I've got this in this position here, I just want to show you one of the tips and tricks. This is actually in the manual, but who reads manuals, right? So you see how this pin comes up through here, and this is your final alignment. It grabs everything and it really locks it down solid. It doesn't move. One thing that's helpful is to put marks for each one of your turrets that you use. So if you buy the extra turrets, you set it up in here, run the pin through, and just put yourself a little mark here. I've got a green mark for the 4-hole turret. Off the top of my head, I think the black mark is for the 5-hole turret, and the red mark is for the 6 and 3-hole turret. So I just wanted to show you that. It's very handy because you can see, every once in a while you won't get it where it's supposed to be. You'll short stroke or something, and it'll kind of jam up on you. And it's kind of nice to have a visual reference, like right there. See, I can't bring it up because I'm not lined up, and it's really nice to be able to just see where you're at, and it'll line itself up after that. So I did want to show you that. Okay, so the first thing we have to address with this press was in the first 1,000 units that came out, it didn't have an index ball on the press. So it just relied on friction and the rods, the indexing rods, to drop you off at the next station. So what happened was you get too much weight up here, with all the stuff you want to put. It was always varying the amount of powder and bullets and all the stuff that you had on the turret, and it would overshoot a lot. They tried using STP. That was the first thing that was in the directions, something that's very sticky and viscous, to slow down the rotation so the pin could catch it, come up through. It's loose right now. But anyway, it didn't work. So the funny part was they had probably gone back and forth on this. I'm going to take this apart. And they had built into it a provision for an index ball. And I'll show you that here. So this is the bearing plate that the turret sits and rides on. The first bearing plates did not have these 2 holes in them. So if you got one of the first 1,000 of them, probably not. But if you did, and you haven't gotten the update, you're going to want to do this because it really makes it a lot more useful. I tried to live with it, but it just wasn't going to be. So you see I'm pulling this ball out. This is a little 1/4-inch ball and a spring. These are on Lee's website. I will put in the description all the different part numbers to all these items. I'll try to chase that down for you. So if you look right here, you can see that this is the original one. Like they call it a tool hanger. But it has a provision for this slot here, which was 4, 6, and it's marked 4 and 6. And it's also the 3-hole if you have the 6-hole. So 4 and 6 here, 3, and then the 5 is all by itself over here. And you just, whenever you change the turret out, you just move. If you want to go from a 4 to a 5-hole, you have to move that over there for that particular purpose. The other three options are all in this 1 hole right here. So anyway, that was nice. That was nice that we finally got the index ball back. If you haven't used the old turret presses like the Lee Classic turret press, which is a great unit, it had an index ball built into it, and it was very firm, and it was very positive about how it locked in. And I think many of them, like myself, we kind of wanted that. And I wanted it so much so that even though it has this provision, I'll show you the 1/4-inch ball here. It sits in here. It doesn't stick up very much. I don't know if you can see that. Just a little bit. So I've done something to mine. This is part of the tips and tricks to give it even a little bit more positivity. Let me show you the back here. This is how this is where it's supposed to align with. These are the holes. The pin comes up, and you see how these are kind of recessed here and tapered. And that's kind of the final alignment when the pin goes through. So the pin will actually line it up and pull it back a little bit because of this long funnel shape of it. So the ball's supposed to pop into here. It's not super positive. The pin is the final positive alignment. So I still didn't like it. I still thought it needed more oomph. So what I did was I came in here on the back side of this, and I cut these deeper with a countersink. This is a countersink bit, this is 3/8, and it worked perfect. I went in here and just took a little bit more material out. And what that does is it lets the ball sit, the spring push the ball a little deeper so it sticks up a little taller, and I just get a little bit more engagement on the turret itself. And that's been a big improvement, and I'm super satisfied with that. So what I will say is whenever I do some modifications to something, I always want to know what is my, what's my out. If I mess it up or whatever, I can get another one of these. So anyway, I think they're actually maybe a little bit consumable anyway. So that's just one of my tips. This is where we are with it. Now, since we're in this position here, I'll show you one of the next things. And this is kind of a recent one. If you haven't seen this, this I'm talking about has been out for a while. You probably already know it if you have this press. But now, let me put this back together, put the ball on top of the spring, set this in place. Now what has happened over time, since I don't think they really intended to use it, although they put these sockets on here in the original construction, they didn't use them. And then when we went back and used them, that uncovered yet another problem. And that problem is that over time, the springs would push down on the plastic, which wasn't really strong enough, and it would actually, kind of bend down. I don't know if you can see it, but I've got the issue here. You can see it's a little dished on the backside over there. There's no support because the supports are too far away. So what they, this is recent, this is brand new. What they did was they just came up with this simple fix, and it works. They put this, they give you a bolt, and the bolt with this little, I don't know what you want to call it, little hook thing. And you can screw this into this bracket here. The bracket, I'm sorry guys, I'm getting lost in my words here a little bit because there's a lot to cover, but this bracket used to have a hexagon shaped hole back here. And this bolt threads right into that hole. It doesn't have threads, you have to make the threads. There was a tool hanger for your, what is this, 7/65 1/4 inch Allen head. So I drilled a hole here, so I still can leave the Allen head there because it's pretty handy. But what this does, and if you don't tighten it down all the way, you can easily just pop this over, and it'll hold that back flush again. It's a Band-Aid, right? But it works. And that's my job, is to show you that. So anyway, make of it what you will. I've been using it. It works okay. I don't have any issues with it. Super simple. Again, part numbers in the description. So that's all I think I have to say about all that. Oh, real quick, there has been some discussion going on about whether or not these were the right indexing holes or these other little ones that sometimes occur on some of the heads. And the 5-hole, some people have these little marks on the 5-hole. And so they're kind of, I guess, confused about which ball goes in which hole. Mine's marked, I showed you that. And then they're supposed to go into these alignment pins. And I'll show you what they're talking about. Now, people have seen it on the 5-hole. That's not the right one. Here, they've seen the index on these 5-holes, so they thought that was another point of index for the ball. I don't think it's enough, and I'll show you what they're talking about. I actually have them on my 4-hole. I think it's just something for manufacturing. I think it's how the CNC machine lined itself up or something. So anyway, it's these little divots here. I think that's a manufacturing artifact. I don't think it was ever intended to be used. Possibly they had an idea doing that because they kind of had to move around a little bit, but people noted it on the 5-hole, but I have it on the 4-hole, which wouldn't be useful. So anyway, just wanted to address that. What else for this view? Just note that I have broken off my tool holder. So the tool holder, the Lee Safety Prime bracket, I broke mine a while back, and I did it because I was trying to make an adjustment to it and kind of flex it, and I snapped it right off. So that's important because I want to tell you something that actually was kind of cool that came out of that. So don't let me forget. Okay, now we'll just kind of move over. That's all the indexing issues. That's solved as far as I'm concerned. Moving back, we had some issues with the primer levers breaking. And here's what that looks like. This little tab piece right here would break off. I've got whole videos on all this stuff, or on some of this stuff out there, particularly this primer thing. This is even a little bit more of an update on that primer issue because some more stuff has happened with it. As I come down here, I just want to show you, now this falls in the realm of the tip. So you want to keep a shell holder in here because if you go all the way down without a shell holder in it, this chute in index assembly, this whole piece right here will just pop off. Doesn't hurt anything. You put it right back on, but it's kind of annoying. So you want to keep a shell holder in here. Now, another thing, this little piece right here is a shell holder retainer, I guess you would call it. And it just pops down in there. And one of the problems I had with it, especially when I was using the part that kicks it off, is this piece was a little bit too tall and the shell would catch on it as it came off down the chute here. So simple fix for that. Out of frustration, I just ground it a little bit thinner on one side, and that's worked pretty well since then. So take that off, pull the shell out, and we will take out this priming lever. I'm going to show you what's been done here. Got to get that thing off of there. When I want it to come off, it won't come off. There we go. So this is an updated version. The original one was too weak in this area right here. The geometry was basically off on the priming levers. It just didn't work. And this piece right here, they tied this together and made it a little stronger. It was getting deflected and it threw off the entire way it swung. So if you don't have the latest ones, these are all shipping with the newest, latest stuff. But if you're having issues with that, or if you're having trouble with your primer levers, make sure you have the new one here. You can see it because it's got this little beefed up thing right here, kind of a V shape to it, funnel shape if you look at it in this view right here. So anyway, that's one of the things that came out. The other thing that came out was this little ring right here, and this supports the primer lever. I've talked about this in a previous video, but just to be thorough, I guess I can't really show you here, but it sits like that on it. So this put the pressure back a little bit on this piece, and that's worked pretty well. In addition, another piece that they upgraded was this little bump right here on this hanger. So this is the first place the lever lands, and it starts to rotate. And it wasn't rotating soon enough, so they built this up and made a new piece for it. Again, this is all included in the new ones that are shipping, but if you happen to have an old one, make sure you've got this bump on there and this ring. And so I guess the thing I'll say about this ring when I got it was, it's a little coarse on the inside in here. So I got some fine grit sandpaper and I just cleaned out and smoothed it a little bit. Now, the reason I did that is because it is possible for it to catch on the ram, especially if you're using light grease. Now, I've always recommended grease on all my presses. That's what I like, but it's a little too thick for this press with this ring fix on here. So it'll catch, and if you get powder in there, then this ring will kind of follow the ram up like this, and that's not good. It'll drive you nuts. So anyway, I just cleaned that, and I use a lighter weight oil now. You don't really need, this is such a tight press, you really can use a very lightweight, like, gun oil, really. Would be fine on something like this. So anyway, just wanted to show you that. This has a little bevel on it. It's beveled here, so it fits down in a bevel here, and fits very securely. So that was one of the fixes. Now, while I'm here, they've also updated the primers because of this breakage issue. So they're making these out of a newer material, supposed to be harder. The way you could tell the newer ones from the older ones, let me see if I got an older one here. There we go. So here's an older one. They use these primer levers on several different models of presses. So this is the old one, and this is the new one. First of all, it's a little bit heavier, I think. but also you see it's got a cutaway right here and right here that this one doesn't have. So this is the latest and greatest version of the primer lever. Uh-oh. And what this does is it allows the shell holder to nestle in here better. Side by side. Anyway, so if you're having trouble with your primer levers, make sure you get the new ones here. That's been hopefully we're done with those problems. But you know. So there's another thing I want to show you here. You see this little pad right here? This is some drawer liner. It's nylon. It's made to go on like drawer rails. Like inside the cabinet, you put these on there, and then your drawers would slide on this Teflon or nylon surface here. So I happen to have some of this. This stuff is great because the little indexing rod comes down here and dinks on the top of this metal. So I like to put something smooth and slick there. And this stuff works great. It's self-adhesive. You tear the paper off and put it down there, and really, really quiets down the press. When you get going on a bunch of them, that's not fun. So anyway, I'm going to put this back together, and I will show you, I guess, one of the last things to go with this. So we're back together, and I want to show you the indexing one last time here. Now, I'll try to be quiet and let you hear the ball clicking in place. Hear that nice positive sound? So that's the fix that Lee did with adding the ball and the spring to start with, and then giving you this little tab back here that pops on and off, if you can see that. That's easy. And then me personally, I recessed, countersunk the bottom of the thing so the balls would ride a little higher in there and give me a little bit more of a positive feel. Now it's a lot closer to the Lee Classic turret press than it was originally. So the last thing I'll say is I'll show you how to adjust your index rods so that they drop out right. So I'm not going to do it here, but if you're having trouble lining up, it's just not hitting the mark, and you're having to make adjustments, it could be that you need a little bit more or less twist in these rods, and they are slightly adjustable. So I've adjusted a couple of mine. My 3-hole was quite a bit off. It didn't work right. Especially once we did all the fixes, everything seemed to be a little bit different. So there's always room for a little bit of fine tuning. So I'll take you over to my vise and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, here we are at the vise, and you can see that I've got some aluminum jaws that I keep on here so that I don't destroy anything. So that before I even start, I want to show you, or I want to tell you that this material is quite soft, right? So you can damage this very easily. So you want to use soft jaws. So these are aluminum, or, piece of leather or something like that. Don't put, a pair of pliers or anything directly on it. I made that mistake on, you can see, I don't know if it comes out here, but you can see there's some little nicks here that I had to polish out. Now this has to be perfectly smooth because your clutch gear has to grab this metal and ride. That's how it works. So it has to grip it and slide under resistance. So if you have any nicks or anything like that, it's going to make your clutch gear not work properly. So don't do what I did the first time. So anyway, what you want to do is kind of lock it in just at where the twist starts. And then if you need more, you're just gonna add a little bit to the twist. Now, I like to look down on top of this thing right here. I can't really see it too well, but use that like a clock in index and just kind of see how much you're putting on it. Use something soft jawed to grab onto it, and then get down kind of close to where the twist starts, and just give it a little bit more, and just work your way till you get what you want and you're dropping out right. You probably don't need to do this, but I'm just trying to be thorough and show you that there are things that you can do to fine tune it. If it's constantly giving you a hard time, maybe something happened to it and it got out, took some of the twist out somehow, maybe it jammed up. It's fixable. If you do put any marks on this, burrs or anything like that, just very careful to file them out, like a jeweler's file, and then sand it smooth so you don't ruin your clutch. Okay, so last thing I want to share with you is something that kind of ended up being sort of cool for me. So this thing has built into the tool holder, this whole piece plastic ring up here, it had the primer bracket molded into it. I never liked that. Sometimes I don't want it on there because I don't need it, and it's kind of just in the way. I always thought it would be better to have a standalone primer bracket, just like all the other presses did. But for whatever reason, they molded it into this one. So I was out here doing some priming, and it just wasn't lining up like I liked. It was off just a little bit, and I just wasn't getting the alignment right. And so out of frustration, I kind of just started kind of trying to flex it over just a little bit. I thought just a little bit would help me out. Well, I ended up snapping it. I broke it clean off like an idiot. So, that's not a huge deal because, I can go to Lee and just get this ring from them. Even if I pay for it, it doesn't cost that much. So that sucks. But what really sucked is I have this little cool light that I did a video on. It's a little halo light and it's already glued onto it. And I don't want to try to dislodge it and then glue it back on. So I was like, man, this sucks. So again, one of the things that I didn't like about pre-molded in place is I didn't have any lateral adjustment. So I started thinking, I've got these old, I don't know if any of you have been around a while, Lee used to make these round, kind of a hard plastic ones. And this was an adaptation, but they used to have this round one for the, I guess probably for a bunch of, but for the, I first was introduced to it on the Lee Classic turret press. And this is the bracket. It used to have a big washer that sat under here. And I did one of my first videos. I showed how you could adjust the elevation by adding washers or removing it if you weren't happy with the way it was hitting. So I got that out, and it turns out that it is dead on right. And I'll put the part number to this. They still have this on their website. There's a legacy part or obsolete part, but the part number's there and you can order it if you ever wanted to do that or if you did something stupid like this. But here's what was cool for me is the part that I didn't like before is I couldn't make these adjustments like this to get it just right for either the way I was engaging with it or whatever, just for some fine tuning. And now I can. And it just worked out that this part, minus the original washer it came with, hits perfectly on the lever. So I don't think I can show you, but yeah, anyway, take my word for it. I'll put the part number down there. That was kind of something that I broke that actually turned out to be kind of cool. And I'm going to keep this because it's way better than the molded one that was on there. So what else do I have for you guys? I think I'm running thin here. This is kind of obvious. You're probably already wondering about it. So this originally came with a handle that was out here like this, comes up in it's, a full nice handle. It's really nice. I thought I would love it. And as it turns out, after reloading a lot, and I've used this thing a lot, what I found was I actually preferred to have my pressure point a little bit closer to the ram. There was kind of this kind of twisty feel because the lever was so far out on that handle. It's a big handle. Here, I think it's just sitting here. This is the handle that comes with it. So it did two things really. It kind of was I have a very small space here and I liked something a little more compact, but I also liked having the leverage much closer to the press. And so I put this back on here just for fun. I kept the 10.5 degree bushing or 10 degree bushings that were here. So it's got the original bushings and then it has the handle off of my Lee Classic turret press. So that's what this handle is. So if you're wondering why I have the ball on there, it's less intrusive in the space. And I actually preferred not pushing pressure all the way out here, having it closer into the press. Better feel, in my opinion. I just liked it. So I put it on there for fun and I kept it. So that's really the last thing there I just wanted to share with you. Sorry for the jumbled up video. I hope we got something out of this. If it's really, I'm not trying to encourage anybody to buy this press or whatever, but if you do have the press or you're thinking about it, I just want you to know what you're getting into and to make sure you have the most up-to-date information about it and what we've been through so that you get good service out of it. Again, I didn't want to give you a negative approach, but I have to talk about the things that didn't work so good to talk about the fixes. So anyway, that's it for this video. Always check me out on Rumble, Treetop Flyer over there, FLIER. And thanks for watching. Appreciate all the likes and subscribes. Channel's doing pretty good for as old as it is. So anyway, hope you got some out of it. Take care.